If you'd tuned into TV today, you might be forgiven for wondering if India, at least on principle, continues to be governed by a secular constitution. A government function, the opening of a short corridor that connects two sacred sites in the city of Banaras in Uttar Pradesh, was turned into a mega religious event led by a constitutional authority, the Prime Minister, along with the entire cabinet of the BJP-run UP government, as they took a sacred dip, held prayers and much more. All of it filmed by multiple cameras supplied by the state-run Doordarshan. In fact, as the CEO of Prasar Bharati helpfully tweeted, DD supplied 55 cameras to broadcast this religious event. Now, while there's no formal definition of how the Indian state is supposed to practice secular principles as enshrined in the Constitution, there are broadly two popular models that have existed around the world. One is what is often called the European model, where the state maintains an arm's length from religion and religious practices, and the other, which has broadly been the Indian template, where the state engages equally with all religions, at least in principle. Now, the BJP, while in opposition, has often alleged that the secularism of the Congress and other non-BJP governments has been reduced to minority appeasement, citing as examples symbolic gestures like the hosting of iftar parties to state-funded economic benefits like subsidizing the Hajj pilgrimage. The Modi government came to power with the slogan of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, implying equality for all and appeasement for none. But as today, and many such events have demonstrated, under the present BJP government, the state appears to have overwhelmingly aligned itself with Hindu religious interests, with barely a pretense towards acknowledging other faiths. In fact, in his speech today, the Prime Minister positioned today's inauguration as further evidence that, unlike previous governments, the BJP governments look out for the religious interests of Hindus, despite the wounds inflicted by past Muslim invaders. This was said in Banaras, a multi-faith city, with a number of prominent mosques, including one just a stone's throw away from today's events.
औरंगजेब के अत्याचार, उसके आतंक का इतिहास साक्षी है, जिसने संस्कृति को कट्टरता से कुचलने की कोशिश की। यहां अगर औरंगजेब आता है, तो शिवाजी भी उठ खड़े होते हैं।
Recall that the UP Deputy Chief Minister had gone even a step further, tweeting about a dozen days ago what appeared to be a warning to a mosque in the city of Mathura in western Uttar Pradesh. Now, the Mathura mosque has long been in the crosshairs of the Sangh Parivar as part of its unfinished agenda. And the tweet by Keshav Maurya reflected this, saying that the work on the temples of Ayodhya and Kashi are done, we're now readying for Mathura. Today's near total alignment of the Indian state with just one side, Hindus, marks the peak of a trend that has escalated since the Modi government has come to power. In the past 7 years, the Prime Minister has, accompanied by cameras, visited countless Hindu places of worship and inaugurated state-funded religious projects. Visits that it would be hard-pressed to justify, as some in the BJP right-wing ecosystem seek to do, as expressions of his personal faith, given that cameras, sometimes multiple cameras, were allowed to cover every inch of these visits, as well as promoting these visits via official channels. Let's just run you through some of these that you're seeing on the screen. The Prime Minister offering prayers at the Lingaraj temple in Bhubaneswar, his multiple visits to the Kedarnath shrine. The Prime Minister unveiling the Adi Shankaracharya statue at Kedarnath. The Prime Minister unveils a giant Bhagavad Gita at Delhi's ISKCON temple, performs aartis on the banks of the Ganga, offers prayers at the Badrinath temple, offers prayers at Kashi Vishwanath temple in Banaras in June of 2019, at the Guruvayur temple, performs the Bhumi Pujan of the Ram temple in Ayodhya, launches the Dev Deepavali Mahotsav in Banaras. The list is quite literally endless. Now, this could still be justified under the so-called Indian model of secularism of engaging equally with all faiths, if the Prime Minister had held similarly publicized government events linked to the Muslim or other minority faiths in India. But in contrast, we were hard-pressed to find any evidence that he had. This was some of the instances we came across. In June of 2018, visited the mausoleum of the Sufi saint Sant Kabir Das in Uttar Pradesh. In September of 2018, addressed the Bohra Muslim community gathering in a mosque in Indore, and some visits to Gurudwaras in Punjab and in Delhi.